SuperTalk Mississippi Media production.
When banking starts to feel less personal, you know where to find us. Community Bank. Deep roots, local people, personal banking. Visit communitybank.net. Member FDIC.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Get the inside track on Mississippi politics. Yeah! Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Thursday morning, this is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for making us part of your morning routine. Maybe this was one of those days where it was a little harder to get out of bed. Just give it a few minutes, get that second cup of coffee in you, and get your energy going as we get ready to go crush a Thursday. Mornings is brought to you by Community Bank. Ever notice how some people still know your name? At Community Bank, that's how banking works. We're a bank that knows community because we live here. And when you walk in, you're more than an account number. No matter what your banking needs are, here you will talk to real people who care about your goals. Community Bank, a local bank built on relationships. Stop by your neighborhood location or learn more at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. Don't forget, every day the 7 o'clock hour of Mornings is brought to you by MWG Employer Services, online at MWGEmployerservices.com. Running a business is tough. We all know that. If you're struggling with HR, payroll, benefits, all the stuff, MWG Employer Services can help. That's what they do. That's where they specialize, and they will build a plan for you. Learn more, MWGEmployerServices.com, or give them a call, 601-206-7966. There are some who are calling this technology's big tobacco moment. What are we talking about? We're talking about the point where you cut corners or did stuff as a company that were so sketchy that you agreed, or a judge helped you agree, or the threat of a judge helped you agree to pay out billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. The question is, will it be just one tech company, or will there be more that jump on board? Here is the story. Facebook and Instagram, which are part of the Meta portfolio, have agreed to settle over policies that they had in place that didn't really protect children. Mississippi is set to receive hundreds of millions of dollars in a major multi-state settlement with global tech conglomerate Meta. There were a whole bunch of states' attorneys general that sued Meta over allegations that the technology company's social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook, featured addictive designs that affected the mental health of children. Meta has since committed to pay a minimum of $12.1 billion to make changes to those platforms and to resolve the lawsuits. There is the possibility of another $5 billion coming into the settlement if TikTok, YouTube, and Snapchat join in, which would push the overall settlement number to more than $17 billion. The payment's going to be made over the next decade. If it's just Meta on its own, Mississippi will get $188 million and change over the next 10 years. $270 million and change if TikTok, YouTube, and Snapchat join the lawsuit. Here are the requirements going forward. Hard cap daily time limits for children. A combined 2-hour daily time limit with mandatory pauses after 15 minutes of continuous use, and again at 60 and 90 minutes to interrupt endless scrolling. Death scrolling, as some call it. Congratulations, in a few years you will be dealing with this. That's great. The hard cap time limits, unless the kids are able to navigate around to those time limits with the same level of ease that you can on an iPhone time limit. Like for a while, they just had my password and could get around it, and then it was like, no, there's another way to do it. I don't know. But this would be coming from Meta. So, just to be clear, Meta would be very closely monitoring your child's online activity on their platforms. And then after they've been on for a little too long, they'd say, time out, or shut it off. Meta would institute nighttime blocks restricting children's access from midnight to 6 a.m., disabling nighttime notifications from 10 p.m. until 7 a.m., There would be limited school time access, eliminating push notifications between 8 and 3 on weekdays. Robust age assurance measures to more effectively verify the age of young users. Safer age-appropriate content controls. See, this, I think, is where you hit something that matters. You can teach your kids about online safety. You can teach your kids about what they should and shouldn't watch, and maybe the message gets through. Maybe you're able at a young-ish age to talk to your son or your daughter about, hey, these are the things that we want to avoid. We're trying to limit kids' exposure not to just straight up pornography, but what would be classified as softcore, almost porn, that just pops up and is right there in their face all the time on ads, targeted ads. There is a recognition, I think, by most that, you're probably going to see it online at some point. But it doesn't have to be so in your face for a 9-year-old boy, for an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old girl. Safer, age-appropriate content controls, including stronger safeguards against bullying, content that promotes eating disorders, content related to suicide and self-harm, stronger, more user-friendly parental controls, limits on social comparison features, including beauty filters and visible like counts. And then the implementation and efficacy of these requirements will be assessed by both an auditor and the states that are agreeing to the settlement. Interestingly enough, part of the negotiation process on this deal is if Snapchat, TikTok, and YouTube adopt comparable terms, then Meta has agreed to drop the daily time limit to 60 minutes, and the nighttime block would then be 10 to 7 instead of 12 to 6 for youth accessing the platforms. I'm assuming Zuckerberg's team behind that is like, look, if everybody's playing with time limits, then we're willing to go a little bit farther. But if we're the only ones that are hamstrung here, then this is as far as we will go. We can't just let our competition run wild without us, I guess. So this is a win for the states, a win for Mississippi. C-Spire text line, payable to who? Time limit is easily passed. Do any of the families directly affected get any piece of this? So now, because we won't parent or set restrictions on our kids, we allow a faceless corporation to do that. Yes, I suppose that is a reasonable reaction if you choose to look at the world through a half-empty glass. A half-full glass might be, boy, this is a wake-up call for all of us. Thank goodness, finally, there are some security measures that are being put in place that make my job as a parent a little bit easier. And, oh, by the way, I'm going to double down on my commitment and my effort to parent better, to say no more, to limit screen time. I don't know. That just feels like more of a glass-half-full approach than payable to the state of Mississippi. I'm guessing that these funds will likely be administered through the Attorney General's office, similar to the opioid settlement case. Try positive today instead of negative. I'm not trying to pick on you, but it's like, why would you read that story and your first reaction be like, oh, since we can't parent, we're letting technology companies do it for us? Really?
Good morning from the Venable.
Mississippi in the know. One morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Thank you for being with us. We are glad to be with you as we roll on this this Thursday morning, August 27th. A couple of messages I want to talk about for a second. And look, you are welcome to be critical of me anytime, to disagree with me anytime. But that doesn't mean I am not going to push back or won't have this conversation with you. Let me read this message. So we were talking about the financial penalties that are going into effect for Meta because of, and I'm going to use this term, and you're welcome to disagree with whether or not this is the right term or the wrong term, over predatory policies toward young people. Not predatory in the sense that it was stealing from them, but there was mind control and features that were built in to create repetitive behavior. I mentioned earlier, some saying this is kind of the big tobacco moment. I think the similarity is tobacco companies knew that their product was addictive, and yet they tried to hide that. Meta tried to create a product that was addictive and demanded that you come back and you come back and you come back, and it became part of your deal, and then they leaned into that. And the judiciary said, that's not really what we want. And there are going to be some penalties for what you were trying to do and trying to cover it up. Here's the message I take exception with, though. Not in a bad way. Just, we disagree. Let's talk this out. I have to agree with the person that said this should be on the parents. It's a lack of parenting. And what gets me more than anything is you guys are supposed to be for small government. But you're all over this, kind of disappointing. Well, let's talk about that for a second. First of all, with regard to lack of parenting, yep, I agree. Jane and I work really hard to parent our children. We probably fail miserably every single day. But we are working as hard as we can. I think on the whole, I'm proud of what we've done and the way we've approached it. We haven't always gotten it right. We haven't always handled everything, but we've tried. We don't agree with the idea that it's somebody else's fault. Trying to teach ownership, like ownership for your actions. I get a message from an educator on my phone. Not surprised you got that comment in a society that demands teachers and coaches parent their kids, but without punishing them for bad behavior. So yes, we agree on the parenting. We've all got to do better. And candidly, there are a bunch of parents out there that don't want to parent their kids. They'd rather somebody else do it. Or just let them grow up and figure it out on their own. But when you say you guys are supposed to be, anytime I get the you guys and we're painting with that broad stroke, I kind of, okay, all right. You guys are supposed to be for small government. Yes. Yes, we are. And I am. And I would generally argue that less government is better than more government. I generally believe that you are going to do a better job managing your finances, raising your kids, deciding what's right and wrong for your family than the government is going to do for you. You get to lay the ground rules for ethics, for morals, for behavior, for punishment, all of those things. Yes, I agree with that. Certainly agree that you are more equipped, I am more equipped to invest your money, for me to invest my money than the government is. I got to get a better return spending my entire retirement savings every week on lottery tickets, which, by the way, are supposed to be for fun, than I do just getting the return that Social Security is going to get. It's a minus 4% return over the lifetime. Think about that. Is there anything other than the federal government that could screw that up more? Here's what we're telling you. You have to take money out of your check and put it into this retirement system. And over the life of your investment, you are going to lose 4%. You can close your eyes, grab a dart, throw it at a stock market sheet, and come up with a 4% annual return with compound interest without doing any homework. But the federal government is going to lose 4% on it. Just congrats on that to all of us. Yes, I believe we are better served handling things ourselves than the government handling it for us. But, or maybe not but how about period? Now let's start a new sentence. Let's start a new paragraph. Government plays a role in our lives. 3 branches: executive, legislative, judicial. There's some real wisdom in the way our founders set our representative democracy, congressional democracy up here in the United States. I've said it a million times. You've heard others say it as well. The greatest political experiment of all time. And so within those 3 branches of the government, checks and balances are in place and different roles are assigned. It is within the judiciary that states, individuals, entities, have the ability to bring lawsuits. When you say parenting kids is the responsibility of parents, and I can't believe you're for government interference, how do you feel about other class action lawsuits? Because that's what this was. This was a class action lawsuit in which a settlement was reached, in which state attorneys general, 47 of them, so it wasn't even a partisan thing, came together and said, hey, this is wrong. This needs to be fixed. Because here's the thing, without that, when companies and people are left exclusively to their own devices without regulation and without some rules in place and without some oversight in place, just expecting them to do what is right on their own, really bad plan. Because evil exists. Everywhere we look. Everywhere we look. It's there. And so when I say, how do you feel about other class action lawsuits? For those who were falsely advertised to when it comes to the tobacco lawsuit, who became addicted to cigarettes through advertising and a lack of making aware of the addiction, companies were pushing those so very much, they became addicted, they developed lung cancer, they died. Did the tobacco industry need to be held accountable for that? Or was that too big government? Was that the government getting involved and saying, nope, it's personal responsibility. You should have figured that out on your own. What about with mesothelioma and asbestos and companies trying to cover up their liability? Should we have just said, well, it was your deal. You decided to work in that building. You're going to have to take some personal responsibility for the condition that you've got right now. It's like there's a place for these things, even when small government is what you believe is the right way to work. It's like that's what is going to work for us. Small government. That's the way to go. But there's still a role for the judiciary. There's still a role for lawsuits. There's still a role for holding companies accountable.
Know where the news is going next. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross brought to you by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. Glad to welcome in my first guest this morning. He is the Central District Transportation Commissioner and also the chair of the commission with the Mississippi Department of Transportation, Commissioner Willie Simmons. Mr. Simmons, good morning.
Good morning, Richard. How are you doing this beautiful morning?
I am doing well. I appreciate your time. It is not every day that you get to roll out a new $400 million project. This is a big one. And, of course, we're talking about the I-55 and the I-20 rehab projects that are on the way. Give us a kind of a high-level overview of what's happening here.
Richard, we're referring to it as the Big Fix project. This is the I-20, I-55 project in Jackson, Hinds County, and Rankin County, and it is going to do great things for Metro Jackson. As you well know, we have approximately 110,000 or so vehicles traveling those corridors on a daily basis, and that get to be very cumbersome when you have a lot of freight, as much freight as we have coming through, and then the local traffic and others going through. This project that we are undertaking is going to do great things. And I have to say thanks to our staff, led by Brad White, our CEO, as well as our contractors. This is a design build with a management component to it that allowed us to come in and get a contractor and an engineering firm along with a manager. And they have been able to put this project together over the past year, and it's going to do great things. So we're excited about it, and also give thanks to our federal partners, U.S. Department of Transportation, as well as our federal delegation for the federal monies that we have, and our state leadership, including Governor Reeves, Lieutenant Governor Holzman, Speaker White, and our legislators for giving us capacity monies over the past few years, as well as maintenance money, and it has put us in a position where we can be progressive in moving forward in building capacity projects as well as maintenance.
What about the timeline on this one? I know in the press conference earlier this week, I guess it was, I thought it was a pretty audacious timeline when you said 2.5 years. I know 2.5 years can be a long time, but for a project of this scope and of this size, that seems like a pretty aggressive timeline. And I ask you that with the backdrop of, I don't know how many construction projects you've been part of lately, but good grief, I mean, over time and over budget seems to be the way of the world now, as opposed to, in time or under time and under budget.
Well, again, this management system that we put in place with bringing the engineers in and the contractors, what we call the design build approach. And the legislature did give us authority a couple of years ago to use this process, and we've seen it as a workable process where we're actually going to save money by being able to do it faster and get it done so that the cost inflation is not catching us and running the cost up. In addition to that, we're going to be able to save time. 2.5 years for this kind of a project. Normally, it would take us 10 plus more years to do this much work. And the inconvenience also that would come, because if we did it in phases, as you well know, Interstate 20 is running, and we're talking about a 32-mile stretch, 16 miles each way. So if we were to break that up into, say, 3 phases or 4 phases, where we was doing approximately 4 miles at a time, that means that we would be shutting a portion of Interstate 20 down 4 different times. And it would take us over a 10-plus year period in order to get that done. This approach is going to allow us to come in this year, September 2026, and begin the process of moving the project forward. And by doing that and having the process that we are utilizing, it's going to allow us to do it in 2.5 years. So within a 3-year period, the citizen will have been able to get a project completed of this magnitude. The state will save money, and we'll be able to utilize these corridors to move traffic through Jackson, which is going to impact the entire state when you think about the way the corridors are laid out, Interstate 55 and Interstate 20, running the entire area of Mississippi, north and south and east and west, with freight coming out of Tennessee, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, the whole works, coming through the Jackson metro area. And by doing what we're going to do and putting up new signage with the technology, as well as widening, putting more shoulders on the interstate system, it's going to make it safer and make for a better ride. So we are excited about the fact that we are able to do it in this manner. And this is really a good system that we are utilizing. We think that's going to be beneficial to the state and the citizens.
Willie Simmons is chair of the commission at MDOT. He's the Central District Transportation Commissioner. Willie, when I think about a project like this, I think about traffic delays, right? How much is it going to slow down? And I think specifically, I don't know if you drove this stretch, but if you're going to New Orleans or Baton Rouge, you go south on 55 and then you head toward Louisiana. You're dealing with 10 and you're 12. And it felt like for forever construction was going on through there and traffic got backed up. And then finally one day it was done and you're like, okay, this was all worth it. How much do you have to weigh that when you're looking at a project like this? Like, this is going to be an inconvenience for Mississippians, but it's going to be worth it. We just got to grit our teeth and get through it.
We have to take those things into consideration, and we recognize that individuals want to get to where they want to go as fast as possible and don't like being slowed down. But we do encourage our citizens and individuals who are driving through our work zone to please be careful and watch out for the workers. We have had over 50 employees killed in the work zone over the years, and it's uncalled for. Individuals just need to pay attention and understand and be patient. This project is going to be over a 2.5-year period, but in our planning, Richard, what we have done is we know that we have to close lanes and we have to shut the system down in order to work on these 32 bridges and these 32 miles and these 36 bridges that we have. We know that we have to shut the lanes down. So what we've done is we'll work with the contractors and the engineers and say we know we have to do that. So we're going to have a 45-day shutdown in 2027 during the summer months, but we have planned it so that we looked at activities that would take place. For instance, the fair. We know that there are a lot of folks that come into Jackson for the state fair. So we're going to plan our closure around the state fair and do it during the summer so that it will be open during the time that the fair is taking place. So we're very considerate and understanding of the business community as well as the city. Then in 2028, we will come back and we will close the other lane going the opposite direction, going east, so that we can do that. But we will do that also in the summer so that it will not impact. So what you're saying is exactly right. Now, what this project is going to do, it's going to address Interstate 55, starting at High Street and going down to McDowell Road, starting on Interstate 20. We will actually start at around the Rankin County line and go all the way over to Wiggins Road. It's called Pearson Road on the east side at the Rankin County area, and Wiggins Road on the west side. Wiggins, for those citizens who don't know where Wiggins is, it's just west of Highway 18 and Robertson Road on Interstate 20 going toward Vicksburg.
Okay.
So we are very, very, very concerned about the safety aspect of it, but also we are concerned about the citizens. Much of the alternate route would take place on 220 and Highway 80. We can't shift traffic onto the city, but we do know that the local folks are going to figure out a way and figure out how to move around in the city and on the city streets to make it work. But our alternative route would primarily be Highway 80 and 220.
Well, it certainly is a big project with long-term effects. Is there? Well, we're up against a break. Have you got time to hang with me for just a couple of more minutes?
Sure.
Commissioner Willie Simmons is my guest. He is the Central District Transportation Commissioner and is the chair of the MDOT Commission as well. Commission working in conjunction with MDOT on this massive road project in the Jackson metro area, I-20 and I-55. It's a $400 million project. We'll talk about a little bit more about this on the other side of the break. Willie Simmons, my guest. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Back with you right after this.
Well, the blues had a baby, and they named him rock and roll.
Good morning from the better.
No filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
C-Spire text line is the way for you to join the conversation. 601-879-4395. The One Plan from C Spire's here. Fiber home internet and wireless, only $99 a month for new and current customers. One plan, one price, one experience. Zero compromise. Get started now at cspire.com/oneplan. C Spire, customer inspired. Commissioner Willie Simmons is my guest. He is the Central District Transportation Commissioner for the state of Mississippi and chair of the board at the commission. Mr. Commissioner, we get a message on the C Spire text line from Larry. He said design build is good. That usually does save money. Curious though, on public projects, how are the contractor and the engineer selected? And I guess I would add to his question, on state contracts through the years, we've heard the lowest bid wins. Sometimes universities or entities are able to use lowest and best as the criteria, where it's not just an automatic that the cheapest bid is the bid. What was the process the commission used in terms of selecting the contractor and the engineer on this?
We did what we call the CMGC. That's the construction management project concept, with a design bid build, where we identify a contractor and an engineering firm. In this case, we dealt with, because we're dealing with the 36 bridges. So we brought in, for this project, Neil Schaefer, an engineering firm, Micah Baker, but also the joint venture aspect of it with the contractors was Yakes and Keith, who deals with bridges. Looking at that group, the staff brought them in and hired them, going through the process of selecting which of those companies would do the design build. And although they was doing the design build, they didn't necessarily have to be the chosen one at the end of the day. But because of the planning, the work, and the collaboration that went on during the past year, we looked at them and felt that they were the one who was putting the design together, and they would fit the bill for making this project work. So that's the process that we went through, and that's where design bill is kind of work. And we can't say how much we appreciate the work of Yakes and Key, as well as our engineers, Neil Schaefer and Michael Baker, for the work that they have done. And having the management concept in place allowed us to have an engineering firm outside of the Department of Transportation working closer with them and kind of having our back, being our eyes and ears to make sure that all the I's was dotted and all the T's were crossed, and that this was a project that was doable, and that this contractor, engineering firm, was working for us, made sure that those things that we were concerned with, such as what you talked about earlier, the traffic flow, the shutdown, and scheduling around times when it would not interfere with some activities that would be going on in the community, as well as scheduling it to make sure that we can get it done as fast as possible, right? But doing it correctly so that we wouldn't lose money in the process.
Willie, I got to be honest with you. I did not know that was an option on some state contracts. I mean, you've heard about the bid process, and you've honestly heard about nightmare stories that go along with that. You accept a low bid on the front end because state rules demand that that's what you do, and then you get stuck with a group that's not really. This strikes me as something that makes a lot of sense in so much, and I know you can't do that with all contracts, but you and your fellow commissioners are elected. And so it's like the people of Mississippi are saying, hey, we are trusting you to lead this particular organization. And then you put some safeguards in, especially with the engineering firm, to kind of watch over you and make sure that this strikes me as a better process than what maybe traditionally the bid process has been.
It's a better process in that the time-saving aspect of it, as well as the money-saving. And just know, Richard, that we could not have done this if the legislature has not granted us permission to do that with the legislation that was passed a couple of years ago when they started giving us capacity money. So they realized that we needed to have everything on the table, so to speak, that we could look at in the way in which we could be managed and make sure that we was in compliance and that we was being open with what we was doing and being accountable. And this system gives us that compliance as well as the accountability that we need to give the legislature and the citizen the assurances that we're doing it in a way that's going to be beneficial to everybody, because once again, 2.5 years, if you think about inflation rate, what we getting this project done for now, and $410 million is a lot of money, no question about it. But if we did this project and stretched it out over a 4 to 15-year period, it would cost us much more to do.
Might be $1 billion project if you did that.
No question.
Yeah.
What I want to say is that everybody win-win. This is a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, Mr. Commissioner, we're out of time. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining me, and hope we can check in as we see some progress on this project over the next few years. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard. Look forward to being back with you.
Yes, sir.
Pour yourself a cup of coffee and get the Magnolia State's most important news of the day. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
To be with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, Thursday morning. Today is August 27th. We have run out of Thursdays in which we roll toward the weekend, and it's a weekend without football. I love, one of my favorite things about living in a college town has been, for years and years and years, it feels like the weekend starts on Thursday. Now, there is not home football where I live in Oxford this weekend. Not college football. Got the Chargers at home tomorrow night. Cheers, cheers. But we got college football this weekend. Will, you got the Dublin game? Was that TCU and... well, I'm locked in on that, aren't I? TCU is one of the teams. TCU and North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
So you got TCU, UNC, and then there was supposed to be a football game this weekend played in Rio de Janeiro. That was a disaster. They had to cancel the Rio game, but they didn't cancel the game. They just moved it to Charlottesville. NC State and UVA on Saturday afternoon. Pretty good way to start the college football season.
I'll take that.
And then we so we got JUCO getting started tonight. You got some high school games happening tonight. Everybody in high school football plays tomorrow night or this weekend. MAIS, MHSAA, junior high teams, Pee Wee teams, JV teams. Everybody's playing as of today. And then we move toward that first full weekend. Man, so much going on. I'm headed to watch a junior high game tonight. Looking forward to that. We had Jamboree last Thursday night. Back at it with an actual game tonight. I did not grow up and spend most of my 20s thinking that my son would be an offensive lineman. And yet here we are, and he loves it. Also, Will, last week, first time, plugged him in on a defensive line.
All right.
And I was like, what are we doing here?
What's he like better, offense or defense?
I think he likes O-line better. But, man, that boy was grinning ear to ear after their Jamboree. So one of his coaches, he had never played defensive line at all. So he's out there for, 3 or 4 series, and he comes off, and one of his coaches says to him, "Hey, I'm going to give you a tip." I know. He's like, "What do you got?" He's like, "They're pulling their guards. When that guard pulls, if you shoot the gap, you're quick, you're in the backfield, you can go make a tackle." We went out there and he did it.
Got a tackle in the backfield?
Well, he missed the tackle the first time. But the concept they had just talked about, he goes out there, guard pulls, he shoots the gap, and he's there. He was so frustrated he missed the tackle. Next series, exact same thing. Boom. Drops him in the backfield, little tackle for loss.
I was like, PFL.
Will, you don't recognize the importance of this until you are a parent.
Yeah.
Obi wears number 53. Their jerseys have got the outline numbers, and so they're kind of smushed together. PA announcer says 58 on the tackle and calls 58 by name. I'm like, no! That wasn't 58, that was 53! And I'm like, we may need to have a fundraiser for new uniforms.
You know you're passionate when you're not only getting on to the referees, but you're getting on to the PA announcer for messing it up.
Doing a wonderful job.
Did you go up there and say, "Hey, I've been in this business for a while now.
No, I didn't
tell you
that.
What's what."
I didn't do that at all. I did a wonderful job. By the way, just a tip of the cap. Are you a concession stand connoisseur?
I am. I spent many a night going to ball games, and so I have tasted stuff that is delicious and unique,
and stuff that is not,
and stuff that is pure trash.
I would put Lee Academy and Clarksdale's hamburgers up against any concession stand hamburger in the state of, not just anywhere. They're good.
Yeah.
Not like good for a concession, like they're just good.
The last time I went to a game in Louisville.
Yeah?
I think it must have been the Toothpick Bowl.
Oh, yeah. That would have been Newton County and Louisville?
Noxubee County.
Noxubee County, I'm sorry. Thank you.
2010 maybe. I don't know. But they had the big old grills out there, and it was probably the most delicious hamburger I've ever had. I don't like pickles.
What?
I'm not a pickle guy. If I get
like not dill pickles, not bread and butter, not no pickles.
No. But I went to a game in the Jackson metro area a couple years ago, and I tried a Kool-Aid pickle. And I'm going to tell you, I was a fan.
Okay.
Now, my blood sugar, probably not good for it.
I was just informed via we'll call it the C Spire text line, because my phone is from C Spire, that I need to revisit the hamburgers at the concession stand that my daughter sometimes works at Oxford High School. I'm not saying others aren't wonderful, including those at my alma mater. Football. By the way, I have had one of those. I have. Hot dog as well. But I love this. Messages are starting to come in. Let me tell you about a high school concession stand you need to check out. These are great.
What's the best one? What's the best one you've ever been to?
You know what? Here's what I'm going to give you. I don't know that I have ever actually eaten a bite from this concession stand. But based on smell and ambiance, I submit to you the good people of Calhoun City, Mississippi at the Boneyard.
Mm-hmm.
When you are playing in a game and the smoke from the grills is hanging over the field, and you're like, Red 18! Man, that smells good! Red 18! Hut!
Yeah.
That's a legitimate. I'm going to assume whatever is coming off of those grills.
I think I've had one of them. I think I went to see them play. I think they played Vardaman one time. Like, I don't hate.
Gosh, that place feels like high school football. I hope it still does. I mean, I'm 25 years removed from 20, maybe more than that. 26 years removed from playing in that venue. But when I think about playing in a high school football game, I think about Calhoun City, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And Calhoun City was a smaller school than we were. We actually hosted them my senior year. So I guess that would have been my junior year when we played there. But, man, that was cool. Really, really cool. Obviously a non-district game before we kind of got into district play. C-Spire text line, John in Oxford says... Back in the day, Bubba Lane's fried catfish at Kirk Academy was special.
Fried catfish at a concession stand.
That's impressive.
I like
Dan
that.
in Hattiesburg, the ladies at Oak Grove baseball concessions make it enjoyable to go to a ball game. I'm told that at Oxford High School baseball games, in addition to burgers and dogs, they got sausage and cheese plates.
Okay.
Outstanding. Amory, best hamburgers. That's according to Jerry and Pontotoc.
So, Amory, when I think hamburgers in Amory, I think Bill's. There's some Bill's hamburgers there at the concession stand. Similar recipe. Wondering.
C-Spire text line. A couple of Mississippi high school football concession stand staples. The aforementioned Cool-Lickles and Flamin' Hot Cheetos with nacho cheese on top.
Yeah.
South Leak used to have chicken on a stick and funnel cakes.
That's like fair food right there.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Really is. This was not my intention, and yet this was so much fun. Anywhere a man in overalls is manning the grill at a high school football game, you're going to be good. We're back right after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Shaping Mississippi politics each morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk Mississippi.
Just watching as the world goes past.
Thanks for joining us mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Example 3264. That sometimes you never know what is going to generate reaction. What is going to trigger memories and interaction with you. I appreciate all the messages on the C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. The one plan from C-Spire is here, fiber home, internet, and wireless, $99 per month. C-Spire, customer inspired. I was reminded again this week what that means. Yesterday, what that means. C-Spire has really, really grown as a company, from wireless into all kinds of business services, and we use them on the business side of things. And we kind of ran into a snafu on an installation. And I reached out to the business case manager and said, hey, this is what we're dealing with. And she looped the sales rep in, and when I tell you they moved heaven and earth to fix a problem and do so in a timeline that I don't know how they pulled it off. When they say C-Spire, customer inspired, that's what they're talking about. If you don't think doing business with a Mississippi company that has said Mississippi is going to be our home and Mississippi is going to be first is worthwhile, I don't know what to tell you. So, to all of our friends at C Spire, thank you individually, and thanks for what you do for Mississippi. Will, that was a very innocent comment about hamburgers at a concession stand a little while ago, and do you think the state of Mississippi is ready for high school football?
I think they're tired of all this injunction, conference realignment, NIL. Let's get back to what matters: the actual game and concession stand food.
Amen. Amen. And I looked at Inside Baseball here, put together kind of a rundown. Hey, this is roughly the order we're going to go through things. Here's some links to stories I want to get to, ideas that we've got. Always completely willing to go off the tracks. And I'm like, GOP faces jam-packed September with funding reconciliation on agenda. Would that have been a better conversation than
Kool-Aid popsicles?
Kool-Lickles? Kool-Aid pickles. I've never done it. I haven't. Now, I love pickles, but I want pickles in pickle juice. I don't want pickles in Kool-Aid.
Well, give it a try.
I don't know that I want to.
No, give it a try, but eat a salad for like 3 days later, 3 days in a row. Eat a salad, something, green.
Huh. West Lounge used to sell crappie sandwiches at football games until they found out you couldn't sell game fish. Mighty tasty. I'll bet.
Now, who was the whistleblower on that?
I don't know, but that person ought to be ashamed of themselves. I mean, Thomas says something along the same lines. He goes, I'm surprised Big Brother, government, hasn't required USDA inspections of concession stands. You shut your mouth, Thomas. If that happens, you are going to be the one responsible.
You come down here and take my Kool-Aid pickle from me, Mr. Government.
From my cold, dead hands. Somebody says, don't forget JUCO. I've given you JUCO football today already. Hadn't forgotten about them. Games all across the state. Lindsey Graham died a few weeks ago, and you ever seen ants at a picnic? Mm-hmm. When somebody leaves some potato salad on the red and white checkered tablecloth?
Yep.
That's what it looked like when politicians in South Carolina realized that there was an open seat. It looked like ants swarming that little pile of potato salad looking for a rib bone while they were there.
Yeah.
Well, Donald Trump said, his sister really probably would be the right one to fill the seat. And South Carolina agreed, the governor agreed, and appointed her pending a special election. Well, they had the special election 2.5 weeks ago, and Darlene Graham and Ralph Norman were the two that got enough votes to make the runoff. Now, it has been evident in the lead up to Darlene Graham running for this that her understanding, comprehension, knowledge of big function of the U.S. Senate, pretty limited. She was asked a foreign policy question. She's like, I'm new to this. I don't know much about that, but I'll learn. I kind of appreciate the honesty. That's probably a better answer that generates a small ripple for a really short amount of time than launching into some complete made-up foreign policy spiel that somebody gave you in a prep session, and then you mess something up and people just assume you're an idiot. And you're like, hey, I'm still learning. I'm going to get there. Probably a pretty honest answer. So, runoff this past Tuesday, Darlene Graham won. And when it was all said and done, it was a pretty significant win. If you're rounding, it was 53-48. If you want to be a little more exact, she won by about 18,000 votes. 52.5% to 47.6%.
Which doesn't sound like a lot. However, when you consider the fact that it's a runoff and a special election,
a 5-point win's pretty significant.
Yeah.
I agree with you. 52-47 does not sound like a walloping. But if you've ever been part of an election, or if you had a friend that's been elected and you're with them on election night and you're counting votes and trying to figure out what's in the absentee box and what's out there, who voted with affidavits, and you start really running the numbers and you get to the point where your guy or gal is on one side or the other of a 5-point victory, and you're like, that's a good win right there. I mean, that's winning a football game by a touchdown and a field goal, and it felt pretty comfortable walking away. Now, it's not a 30-point victory, but you also didn't kick a field goal as time expired to get it across the finish line.
Yeah.
It's comfortable. The 2-week runoff in the windows between the special election and the runoff election, slugfest. Darlene Graham, complete political newcomer, kind of struggled to define who she was with voters of South Carolina beyond Lindsey Graham's brother and I've been around. Ralph Norman, he's a United States representative. He served the better part of 2 decades in state and federal elected office, had name ID, had stressed his experience to voters who are already aware of him from his time in Congress. He ran for governor earlier this year. And then there was the Donald Trump endorsement. And the MAGA Inc. money. MAGA Inc. has not spent a lot yet on elections. They dumped $830,000 into the final 2 days of this campaign. Text messages, robocalls. Little bit of a litmus test. Does it work? She won. She won. South Carolina, pretty red state. Lindsey Graham, big ally of Donald Trump's. But in effect, they just took a player off the bench that had never, ever played in a game before and said, she's got the same uniform and her brother has been a 4-year starter for our team. Let's give her a shot. And she won. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. My friend, your friend, our friend, Steve Azar, joining us next.
From the SuperTalk, Richard Cross, here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
What else?
And always on the SuperTalk app.
Check one. Where's all my volume?
No, it's not 1 o'clock yet, but this afternoon at 1 o'clock you can catch In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar. You can do that tomorrow as well, Thursdays and Fridays every week right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. The man that never ages, the man with the golden voice, Steve Azar, my pal, joins us right now.
You must be talking to somebody else.
Not at all. Not at all. I want to give you a compliment first. Has nothing to do with your music.
All right, go ahead.
Azar, I'm a bit of a logo snob. I like small logos on golf shirts and on hats. And your Stickman guitar logo that is inside the star on your guitar strap is as cool a logo as I've ever seen.
That's so funny. You know what? My doctor brother, the real famous person in the Azar family, Dr. Freddie Azar in Memphis, when I was 14 years old, he was just going to Notre Dame. I said, I need a logo. And he drew my initials, S.A., sort of architecturally. I just watched him do it. He was a really great drawer, painter and all that. Anyway, and then he started building this thing around it and built the guitar, and he put the star around it. He looked at it and said, star's a little crooked. I said, I love it. And that was it. So that was the beginning, and I've stuck with it forever. And, you know, you can get a little dumb with that, though. Like Nike at least put the word Nike on their thing for a while until you knew the swoosh. Mm-hmm. I was always about leaving my name off everything and just doing that. And I think people were probably like, what is that? Who is that? You know, so
that's really cool. What does it mean? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And Nike's gone to their retro logo on a bunch of stuff where they've put Nike or Nike Air on it over time. So
thus the Nike brand and the Steve Azar brand. There you go.
Well, you know, similarities, I'm sure. Steve Azar, my guest, and yesterday we talked a lot about Dolly Parton. On Tuesday, we lost an icon, and Jane and I were grabbing some lunch, and she got a text message from one of her friends, and I saw on X about the same time the news was coming out, roughly 1 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon, that Dolly Parton had passed away, and it felt like the reaction was universal. Everybody was sad, and I posted this. I don't know why, other than I just felt like I needed to because everybody else was. Dolly felt like somebody that should have lived forever. An absolute giant that was... I hesitate to use the word universally, but I think she was universally loved. Can't find anybody to say anything bad about her. Anybody.
No, you can't. And listen, she was a pioneer. Did a little tweet the other day, and I was trying to figure out what to say. Mm-hmm. And because you'd have to write a book. There's nobody she crossed. I mean, if she did, we sure didn't know about it. She was so genuine and wonderful. When I met her for the first time, she was not in a hurry to rush away, and we probably spent 10, 15 minutes talking. And it's always surreal as an artist. You meet these icons along the way. Charlie Pride, another example. My mom used to talk about him playing, come in his baseball uniform in the grocery store in Clarksdale all the time. And 25 years later, me and Charlie are doing the Opry and doing it again. And he'd always come up, talk about Mom, talk about Clarksdale. I mean, you get these moments in your life as an artist that are very surreal and almost like not real at all. But Dolly was so wonderful. She just didn't get involved in controversies or choosing sides. Yeah. You're seeing that a lot now with artists and athletes and so much going on. And everybody's got an opinion now. And they can, it's like the news is everybody, or more views than news. But she just you just didn't know what side she was on because she was on everybody's side, and I think that's the reason there's no one you can find that just didn't really respect her.
Hey, I don't know if you know this, but in the music industry, the big star world, it appears sometimes as if there are people that have ego. I don't know if you've ever encountered that along the way, people that have ego who are big stars. Mm-hmm. Dolly struck me as somebody who was so comfortable in her own skin that her ego was almost non-existent. And to me, the evidence of that is the number of people that she collaborated with who were big, big stars. And she didn't ever seem worried about, it was about just making good music and good content. And maybe because she was such a big star, it would never be eclipsed. I don't know, but that struck me as really, really cool when you look at the number of people that she performed with or collaborated with through the years.
Well, first of all, when you start a career like she did, and she was given this incredible God-given gift, but she was also extremely business savvy. But back up for a second. The song she wrote, Jolene, I Will Always Love You. I mean, I will always love you. I mean, it's just crazy. When she said she heard Whitney Houston sing it, she said she didn't know even how to do it anymore. Like it was like she had never witnessed anything like that, and just a great song. So she was known as a great songwriter. And when she had much, even working 9 to 5, she wrote all that stuff. And so it was just incredible, the songs she wrote and how the staying power. And also I remember reading one time that she was only making $60,000 a year when she was already a star, but she was on a show, on one of the shows. I don't know if it was Porter's show or whatever, but she was the guy that was paying him. She said, she was grateful, but she also knew that the show was getting renewed and it was doing better and better, and she was not getting a raise. So at some point that she finally got the courage to ask for her own thing and do her own thing. And so those were decisions I think she made in her life that she realized she stood up for herself. Women in music back then, especially back then, there wasn't a lot. There was, the men sort of ruled the airways for a long time. And obviously for her to come in and do what she did. But it is interesting that you think about it. She's also very private. She's married 60 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time in our business, so it just sort of defied a lot. But she was very humble. I still think the best ones are the most humble. I haven't run across really anybody in our business that hadn't been crazy successful, from the biggest songwriters, the biggest artists and everything, that aren't so approachable. And I think that they're so big because they're just down to earth, and they're grateful and they're humble. And they also know how hard it took to get there. And how hard it is to stay there. And most of musicians like me are on a roller coaster ride. You're on this thing, and then eventually you get used to it, and it's okay. But with her, she was, on a planet by herself.
You mentioned
she's a superstar, man, superstar.
Steve, you mentioned just a second ago probably her two most recognizable songs, "I Will Always Love You" and "Jolene." You are a writer. I don't even. You might classify yourself as a writer first and an artist / performer second. I don't know. That doesn't matter. But as someone who has gone through the writing process, I don't know if sometimes you just get in a groove. But the fact that she wrote those two songs, "I Will Always Love You," which was a number one that she had and then became a number one again with Whitney Houston, and "Jolene," which is one of the most recognizable and covered songs of all time, she wrote those in the same night.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I can't remember that was the case, but you're bringing back deja vu. Yeah, and you think about that. That's insane. It's just insane. Like, come on, man. Those are iconic songs, and usually you get one in like every, if you're a really great songwriter and prolific and all that, you get one like every 7-8 years of your life. Like great songs. Like I'm talking about that keep getting re-recorded, and every time they keep getting re-recorded, they go number one in whatever genre it is. So that's the difficult part. But I feel like for me personally, I love to write. I've always written. I stayed grounded my whole life, and how I got out of the room was write a song, and I knew my mom, if I wrote a song, that she'd let me out, for the weekend. That was part of the deal. She even grounded me at 22. I swear to God. And you know who I was with? I was with Mike Patera, and from, in Oxford. We all know Mike and Lenores. And they didn't believe. They called the police. There was an APB out. There was all sorts of stuff. And I said, oh, my God, we were playing Trivial Pursuit. So I wrote the song. And I said, you can't ground me at 22. I think that's pushing it, But as a songwriter, I love
and Mom said, you better hide and watch.
Yeah. I mean, come on. But I love to write. But it's getting to play the songs for the people that you write. That's when you have that emotional connection that I wish I could describe it, and I wish I could get tired of it, because I love it like I did my first time on stage. I still love it. And I don't ever want to stop. So I'm hoping that God will give me the strength and the voice and everything else that allow me to do that. But you get back to Dolly, just her impact. Truly, I'm sitting here trying to figure out where you rate her. Well, there's Elvis, and then as a female, who do you rate where Elvis was? And how can you not put Dolly somewhere up there? I know Elvis is the king, and we all know that. But, man, we're so respected, so incredible. What a career. What a career. And she's also in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
And tried to say no, told the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame board, no, I don't think I've earned this. And they said, yes, you have. And then felt compelled to go do a rock and roll album.
Yeah.
It was good. It was
with
good.
McCartney and everybody. I loved it.
It's incredible. And that story where she told Elvis and Colonel Parker, no, Elvis wanted to record I Will Always Love You, and she said, I'm not splitting the production rights on it, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Steve Azar, you can catch him on a Mississippi Minute this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. Steve, always good to catch up. Thanks so much for your time this morning. Be safe, brother.
You too. Bye-bye.
Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. We will wrap things up with you coming up next.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I got me a brand new car waiting in the driveway, shining like a bright new star. I've been wishing on it every day to take me away from here. So I called in to where I work, told a little white lie.
Gary and Tishamigo on the C Spire text line. Shout out to Steve. Met him a few years ago at a fall festival in Boonville that we played at together. Never met a nicer person in my life. It was like we were already friends. I now listen to Steve's show almost every week, at least the Thursday program. He's got interesting guests on his show, and I always enjoy learning about them. Steve's a great guy. Steve Azar, appreciate him joining us for a few minutes with some of his memories about Dolly Parton. If you see flags at half-staff across the state of Mississippi, it is in honor of and remembrance of the great Dolly Parton. Gone too soon. 80 years old. And 80 doesn't feel nearly as old as perhaps it once did. Richard Cross, Will East with you one last time. Don't forget about my friends at Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota. If you're in the market for a new or previously owned vehicle, maybe hunting season is around the corner and you're looking for a new hunting vehicle. Maybe you got a kiddo that's turning 16 or is in their senior year of high school or senior year in college and you're looking for a vehicle for them. Maybe it's just time for a new one. Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota can help. They've got some really good deals going on right now. Some bonus cash to go along with great financing rates. You can check out their selection online at belkford.net. Maybe you're coming to Oxford in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, I guess, for 2.5 weeks for the first football game. Stop by and check them out at Belk Ford. They'd love to help you get into the vehicle that you are looking for at a price that you can afford with the best financing that you'll find anywhere. Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota, Highway 6 West in Oxford. Tell them I told you about them. They will take good care of you. I have been a customer at Belk Ford since 1998, which is now coming up on 30 years, and they have been good to me time and time again. They'll be good to you as well. Online, belkford.net, located Highway 6 West in Oxford. Appreciate all the interaction with you this morning. C Spire text line. Will mentioned it earlier. High school football is back. Has been for a couple of weeks for some of Mississippi. This weekend, we get the whole enchilada. We get the cornucopia. We get the buffet of high school football. And once again, SuperTalk Mississippi is your place for high school football. You've got the Farm Bureau Insurance Company's scoreboard show statewide in Mississippi with scores and updates all across the state in its 31st year. And what was the number of games on the...
we have 18.
18 games
across
every week. Mm-hmm. And that's streaming and radio stations and everything else.
Yep. And you can use the SuperTalk app to select from whichever game you want to listen to.
There you go.
If you're a Starkville High fan and you want to know what's going on with the Yellow Jackets, got you covered.
Outstanding. SuperTalk app. If you don't have that, grab it, please.
Gulfport, Ocean Springs.
Water Valley.
Water Valley.
Jones County Game of the Week.
Jones County Game. Yeah, we do a Game of the Week, so we'll pick the best game in that area because there's 100 high schools there, and there's always an interest, whether it's West Jones or South Jones or Northeast Jones. There's like 28 Jones high schools. A lot of Jones high schools.
Trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Or we might do Laurel. You never know.
That's right. So a lot of high school football content for you. Caleb Saylor is now hosting the high school scoreboard show, and it got started last Friday night, right?
We started last Friday night because a lot of the MAIS schools, that's your private schools, they usually start a week or two early.
A couple of weeks, yeah. For a lot of MAIS schools, last week was week 2 of the season already.
So the MHSAA, the public schools, will start this Friday night. We have one Thursday night game, I believe. I think Pearl, I don't know who Pearl is playing, but Keith Walker, who's on the show, he's a big Pearl guy. He walked out and said, yep, we're playing Thursday night. He says, I think we're the only team playing Thursday night. But most of the games will be on Friday night, tomorrow night.
And then you've got college football coming up this weekend as well. Mentioned it earlier. It all gets started with that. You've actually got some games that are happening tonight with some FCS football, but the FBS stuff gets going this weekend, and it gets started with North Carolina and TCU from Dublin. Somebody mentioned earlier, maybe the best game of the opening weekend. How about 9 o'clock Central Time on Fox? Memphis at UNLV. Two teams that could factor into the playoff conversation. Dan Mullen, back as the head coach at UNLV. That'll be at Allegiant Stadium. That's Saturday night. Saturday afternoon, NC State and Virginia. 2:30 kickoff for that one. So it is here. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. For Will East, I'm Richard. Have a great Thursday.
A SuperTalk Mississippi Media production.